Want help to grow your business? Download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.
Hi, I'm Pip McKay, and welcome to Evolve Now, where we look at the mindset and the emotional intelligence that you need to create success and happiness. So on today's program, we're going to look at a really unique topic, and that is how to identify the 4 stages of growth and why they matter. And this is a coaching model and a concept that I created myself out of 20 years of studying archetypes and also another 14 years of working with them therapeutically and in the coaching space. So I'm really excited to be able to present this model to you. So what are we going to cover? Why personal growth is essential for lasting success, how to identify where you are now and where you want to be, how to identify another stage of growth, what emotions affect each stage of growth, the biggest barriers to growth and how to overcome them, and finally, what it takes to get to the next level of your personal growth. So let's get started. So basically, this is the model of the 4 stages of growth. And really what they do is they follow the archetypal stages of growth that every single human being goes through, even animal goes through. So we basically start off in childhood. Then we move to adolescence. Then we move to young adult. And then we move to mature adult. But what we're doing with these 4 stages of growth is not looking at them necessarily in terms of your life journey, but we're looking at them metaphorically. So we're basically looking at what happens when you grow, and when you start something new, you are basically in childhood, no matter whether you're a child or not. Then you're going to move through a stage of growth that's called adolescence. This is a little bit angsty, and it happens every single time we start something new. We have that enthusiasm, and then we move on and we all start to face tests and trials. Then we move almost metaphorically out of home. We don't have to blame anyone else or rebel against anything because we're actually stepping into our own. And this is where we're really following our passion and purpose. We feel in flow. We start to find goals happen easily for us. And we call that stage the young adult phase of growth. And then after that, it stops being so much about us and it starts to be about the contribution that we can make in this area. And then we move into the mature adult. So in terms of business, it might start off with you starting up a business. And at first you've got an idea for a business and you're really excited about the idea and you're really enthusiastic. And then you actually start the business. And when you actually start the business, it's no longer just an idea, and you actually have to go through the reality of putting that idea into practice. So there's a lot of things that happen. There's a lot of awkwardness. There's a lot of growth. Sometimes it's a bit angsty because you're like, oh, it's not what I thought it was going to be. There's lots of things I have to overcome. There's lots of problems that I didn't realize would happen that I need to look at. Gee, I need to be able to make money from this. I didn't factor that in. Oh gosh, the time frames. Oh my gosh, there's all these things I need to learn and understand in order to be able to fulfill a business. Then suddenly it sort of clicks through and all of a sudden the angst is gone and things are in flow, systems are in place, staff know what they're meant to be doing, and things start to become much easier for you. You're used to it. You understand what to expect from a customer, what sort of things, a process the customer might go through, and things become easy and in flow. And then finally, it might be, wow, what can I do now to contribute to others? Maybe your business has earned enough money that you want to start thinking about charity or some way you can give back. Or maybe you'd like to stand up and give some speeches to young people so that they can understand how to set up a business. And so then we've finished that whole cycle. Now, what happens after you've reached the mature adult cycle in your business is that if you just stay there, you might find, one, competition might catch up with you and that you really need to start doing something new, or you might find you just get a little bit bored. And that's the point where it's important to start the process again. Now, one of the things that I look at is storytelling and the creation of stories. And I've been studying that for a long time because once upon a time I was a drama and English teacher at a performing arts high school. And so I've done many, many years studying things like The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell. And when I looked at that journey, I realized that that journey had these 4 stages of growth in it. So you may hear echoes of The Hero's Journey as we go through this because the archetypal stages of growth tell you what the hero needs to be able to do in order to get to the next stage of growth. And between childhood and adolescence, there's a threshold where you suddenly have to move away from the things you're doing as a child in order to become an adolescent. Again here, down here, between adolescent and young adult, there's a threshold. There's certain things you need to do to step into young adult. Just like an adolescent needs certain things they need to do in order to become a young adult and really be looking after themselves and move out of home. And then between young adult and mature adult, there is again a threshold where there's certain things we need to do, certain things we need to let go of, and things we need to adopt in order to move up to that next level. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's business. It could be in other areas of life as well. You might be thinking, oh gosh, I can see how relationships go through these 4 stages of growth as well. So in group dynamics, we might talk about this as forming when the group forms, then storming as the group gets to know each other and has their own needs and how does that work with someone else's needs, then performing when the group becomes cohesive and everything is in flow, and then finally transforming as the group might decide that it's the end of the purpose of that group and they move on. And in relationships, basically, we move into this young adult phase where the relationship works. It's easy. Things start to come together. You understand the other person, what their needs are, and they understand you and what your needs. And you find a way of working with that, hopefully in a win-win way that allows you both to be happy. And then it moves into the mature adult phase where the relationship allows you to contribute to other people and to really be able to help other people become more functional, perhaps in relationships or perhaps in other ways. And then it might be that the relationship transforms. That doesn't necessarily mean that the relationship breaks up, but there'll come a point where you might be in another stage of your life, such as retirement, where all of a sudden you might be going through this forming stage again as you readjust to the fact that now you're not working separately and you're in the same house together, and you might be going traveling or certain things like that together. And then the relationship will go right through all those same phases again. And it's even the same with getting fit. So it might start off with, oh, I've got a great idea, I'm going to get fit, I'm so excited. And then you actually start getting fit. And you might have a personal trainer and suddenly your muscles are sore and you think, oh my goodness, why did I do this? And you might even feel worse than you did before, tired and achy. And then after a while, it moves past that stage and suddenly it all sort of comes together and you're feeling fit, you're reaping the benefits of the extra energy, of the extra strength you have, the extra balance and all sorts of other things, and it's exciting. This is like the reward for all the work you put in here. And then finally, there's the mature adult phase where exercise becomes part of your daily routine, and you might even be encouraging others to do exercise and go on a similar journey that you went on. Now, one of the really, really interesting things here is that a lot of people talk about flow. There's even a book called Flow. But a lot of people don't understand that without the adolescent phase of growth, there simply isn't any flow. In fact, adolescence and the tests and trials that we go through that stage of growth sort of widens the channel in which flow can come. So it's like we've got to create the channel in this adolescent phase. That's why it's not easy. We've got to clear that channel. And once we've done that, then flow comes through that channel that we've created. So people talk about, oh, that person's in flow. But if you think about an athlete who is in flow, what did they do before they came into flow? They were doing all of this work. They might even have an injury that they overcame. There's all kinds of tests and trials. There might be mindset issues that they go through before the flow can happen. Look at any entrepreneur. Look at Richard Branson. There were certainly times in his business where there were tests and trials and things weren't easy for him before it came into flow and he was able to contribute to others. It's interesting to watch Richard Branson now on Google Hangouts where he's helping entrepreneurs in Africa to have access to him through Google Hangouts, and he's helping support other entrepreneurs who wouldn't normally be able to have access to someone like him as a mentor. So we can see that he, in his business, he's gone right through these stages of growth, but without this, there wouldn't be the flow. So often people complain about the tests and trials they go through, but no, it's like the tests and trials is your investment. And when you put that investment of energy in, then you get rewarded by the flow, or the boon, if you like. And they talk about Joseph Campbell, it's the boon, it's the holy grail you find that allows everything to come into flow. So these are the basic areas. And what I want to do now is go through each area and look at what are some of the emotions people face in that area. What does it look like when that area is done in what we call light and when it's done in shadow? So basically when it's done well and in a happy space and when it's in a negative space. We'll be looking at that. We'll also be looking at what we call pretend archetypes, because some of these stages of growth, people pretend that they're something that they're not. And that's really interesting to watch, because that gives us some really big insights. And then we're going to be looking at also, what do we need to let go of and what do we need to adopt in order to move into the next stage of our growth? So let's look at the first stage, childhood. This is just a pictorial example of childhood and the kind of energy. It's kind of like enthusiasm. People's not looking at cliffs or anything. They're just jumping off into the experience. Now, people in this stage can either be an innocent or they can be a victim. So obviously in the positive, the person is innocent. How many business owners do you know go, oh, if I knew what it took to take up a business, start a business, I probably wouldn't have started. But I'm so happy I did. So it's really important to have that naivety, because if you knew what was in front of you, you might not begin the journey. So that innocence is actually a good thing. And when you're starting like this, you don't need naysayers telling you, oh, business is really hard. Oh, my goodness me. Oh, what it takes. You know, that's not what you need. You just need a bit of naivety. You need a bit of innocence to go off and actually get started. There are points in business where you definitely need due diligence, but at this point, it's about the ideas, it's about getting enthusiastic, it's about simply moving forward. Now, some people in this sort of stage of growth can feel like they're a bit of a victim. So they blame everybody else for the reason why they haven't started business. They kind of look at, oh, you know, I can't start business because this happened to me when I was a child, or this is going on for me. And yet we know that so many business owners didn't have particularly good childhoods. Often many of them came from absolute abject poverty, and they're able to draw themselves out of that in order to move forward with their business. Now, what are the gifts of this stage of growth? Well, it's having dreams, having ideas, having enthusiasm. That's the gifts, and we need those gifts to get started. What do people say when they're at this archetypal stage of growth so that you can recognize them? They say stuff like, I've got...
To continue enjoying this presentation, download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.